Gonna give an update on the HIC mule from Spyderco. I have been testing it quite a bit. Now, before I start going over what I found, right now this knife is actually dull. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm actually going to hit it on my ice block to try to exaggerate some damage. And I'll go over my testing while I smack it around a little bit for entertainment purposes. Now, this HIC mule presented a challenge with me in testing because it is ceramic and it's not steel. What I did for sharpening was different this time around as opposed to using regular steel knives like my leaf jumper or any other Spyderco production folder. Now, what I normally do is I always implement ice block testing to kind of put two different dulling mechanisms, draw cutting on the sanding roll and chopping to make that double blunting mechanisms to actually articulate on the edge. Abrasive wear and then impact wear, to me, I think gives a good balance of what the steel can actually do. The good thing about using ice as opposed to any other material is it's actually on the low end of the hardness scale, and you could always bridge up to harder materials like gypsum or even limestone. But what I found with ice in my H1 testing, the abrasive wear and the impact wear was absolutely even. So I always incorporated 20% into the mix. Most testing that I've seen with these ceramic mules have always been on the factory edge, and they've not been too happy with it. What I've noticed, or what my approach to sharpening was, I used the Spyderco CBN stone, the 800 side specifically, and I would set a timer and I'd go back and forth. I would hone the edge. I wouldn't try forming a burr. It seems like so many people were doing that. I wanted to try something different, something that nobody else was actually doing. In my testing, I used the index card as pass or fail when it comes to testing. When I started testing, the sanding roll got 220 cuts. I used the 1K super vitrified diamond stone to get that number. Sharpen it up for I think 4 or 5 minutes. That number went to 500. Did it again. We went to 630 if I'm not mistaken. 630 outperforms Maximate, outperforms many other steels. There's only been a few other custom heat treats that have actually surpassed it. But this knife, this material, Spyderco is looking for people to analyze it and actually provide feedback. In which case, I'm a little late to the party, but better late than never. The ice is a 1.5 on the Mohs hardness scale, Woods are around 2 or 3, so some people baton through there. However, before I baton or anything, when I take it to the ice, I try to make sure there's been multiple edges to get rid of any fatigued steel. And what I've noticed, even with this, the ceramic did improve with sharpening. So you will get better performance. On my last test that I did, I was searching to get my 20% chops on the ice block. Now with that testing, I'm not trying to hit super hard. I'm trying to be consistent with my strikes and make sure that the entire edge bevel is impacting the ice in each single stroke. If you're only hitting the tip, you're doing yourself a disservice. The goal is to actually replicate harder usage, real world usage, as best as possible. Now, like I said, this knife was dull, or dull to testing standards. So right now I'm just trying to actually beat this up a little bit. Then I could go to something harder. I got plenty of rock that I could actually hit it with. But what I noticed with other testing is impacts on the ice blunt the edge. So I don't need to take it to harder material. I already found out how tough this steel actually is in relation to what it could actually do on draw cutting, at least at an 800 grit CBN Spyderco bench stone. $630 cuts is nice. It's a real high number. However, what you'll find when sharpening this stuff, at least my approach is to keep it simple. I wanted to keep the sharpening under 5-6 minutes, because some people, they spend 2 hours and they're just literally spinning their wheels, in my opinion. What you'll get is, from what I've seen with my index card, was the ability to actually push and get further along on the cutting. If you actually try to make it slice paper, you're going to be there a very long time and you may never even get there. To me, it's not even worth it. Steel provides that attribute. What you'd want something like this for, what it feels like, I should say, is a worn down edge that's able to keep on going and cutting. To me, it's just like a glorified worn edge. That's the best way I can describe working with this material. Is it a step up above ceramic knives in general? To me, I'd say maybe a quarter step, maybe a half, not a full. I don't see the benefits of using this in a lot of industries. Maybe as an ice scraper, maybe if you're cutting jello all the time. I appreciate Spyderco trying out different things just to see what's actually possible, what the future actually is. If no one's willing to do that, then everything is going to be stale. Spyderco is pioneers, and they always say that the road less traveled always has the most stones. Now, I know this ice is not causing any damage. It's probably too soft, but I know it was capable of blunting the edge. I want to say around 14% of what its total efficiency actually is. So this stuff is on the brittle side, and the way you can compensate for that, wider edge angles. But at that point, why would you actually want to use something like this? To me, this I've put in that category master of the mundane. If you got simple tasks, I really wouldn't take this outside. Working on any lawn work or any type of wood or anything like that. Kitchen usage, you might be okay for some things. I know Sal was using his in the kitchen quite a bit. I was not a fan of this stuff, but I wanted to test it out. Because the mule project, I feel so many people are just more interested in putting handles on there as opposed to actually providing real world feedback, testing results. This is what I do to actually analyze the abrasive wear, how tough it actually is. And so far, this has been the most brittle alloy, or not technically a steel, that I've ever tested. I always have that 60% benchmark for steels, pass or fail. But when I was testing this, I was creeping up a lot more slowly, extending testing over 7 days as opposed to just one session. It didn't make it past the second day out of 7. Right now I'm trying to ask myself, where would this material, where would it succeed? Where would it be beneficial? I haven't really come up with anything yet. It'd be kind of fun to see if it'll actually go through a metal detector. But I mean, I suppose it's sharp enough to actually do some things, but ideally, I'm still a fan of steel. Always have been, always will be. I think steel is much more versatile. I know my next sharpening, I'm actually going to use the 400 side, because I heard 600 or higher is the way to go. So we'll try the 400 side. Same thing, to see if we actually... What I was hoping for was to create microchips, and because the 400 side, like the abrasives are more spread out, I was hoping it would actually get inside the microchips and then just rip them out and actually exaggerate the damage a little bit more. Ice doesn't seem to be causing that much damage, so maybe I will actually take it to something else, something a little bit harder. But overall, I can't say I recommend this to anybody unless they want to try something unique, something different. And if you want to get a good edge on there, I feel like you're just going to be spinning your wheels, and it's more time to get something that you want, and it's going to go away super quick. You're better off just getting steel, because steel is going to actually cut cleaner. I did post the paper towel cut that I actually got off of this stuff. Took me like, 3 minutes to do. But I wanted to use Spyderco products, Spyderco mule, especially for making any type of statement on the forum to let Sal know what I'm seeing, what it's capable of. I'm drawing a blank at what its strengths actually truly are. But other than that, I'm going to go keep on playing drum solo. That's my update on this stuff.